Here we go.
You're tuning in to Will Love Listen. Now listen.
Here we are again with my favorite, Lori Lothian. We had a wonderful 2024 interview on all things astrology, and it performed really well. So she's back again for 2025. I followed her for years, I'm sure, as you know, and 2025 seems to be a very monumental year. So we're jumping right into it. Thank you for joining me again, Lori.
Oh, it's always good to hang out with you, Will. You're so much fun. And we were just talking before we started the recording how the minor asteroid Pythia, which is the Oracle of Delphi, is sitting in his chart on his Jupiter, which means he's in his life to consult the oracle liberally. So talking to astrologers or even for his own life or tarot readers or psychic mediums can be really healthy. So really good for your soul. So, well, welcome to the 25 year ahead. It is game changing. And you gave me a lovely list of questions that I'm happy to go through, but might also want to interrupt me at any point in terms of deviating some of the areas that you want to consult into. One of the things you did mention that is true, we have a huge pileup of planets in one sign. That's called a stellium. And that means that there's 4 or more planets or placements in one sign at one time. And in the ancient world, that is also whole sign house system wise. It's very important because it really weights the sky. It's sort of like when we were kids, we had teeter-totters in the playground, and it's like all the weight is on one side, and then dangling up at the other end is the other half of the sky, which in this case is the opposite of Pisces. There's a big bunch of planets squishing down into the sign of Pisces in the month of March and April. It's pretty exactly a perfect stellium around March 29th. And it really means that all of us collectively have a huge weight in the area of our sky that it has to do with the word Pisces. And so an opposite is the sign of Virgo, and that's up in the air, like that can't get any traction. But Pisces is beautiful because Pisces is about enchantment, and it's about mysticism, and it's about compassion, and it's about care for those who are less fortunate, for those who are displaced. It has to do with boundaries and borders as well, between places. So especially between land and shores, like seashores. And technically, it rules industries like fisheries. So there may be some big news stories in the cycle around fisheries. It may be good news because we do have Venus there, exalted, but also there's a window of time where Venus gets herself in hot water during this. But let me go back to the general theme for humanity. Let's say March and April vibrationally, really acute at the end of March. A lot going on to do with borders and control of borders and definitive actions around border security and control. And that's because Saturn is there and he rules the boundaries between places as well. So we'll see more movement in the United States toward the border situation and what the new government might want to do, maybe tariffs with Mexico and Canada with the Trump administration. Even though it's a stellium with Venus in there, she gets herself really squished up in a difficult circumstance for a lot of her journeys through the sign of Pisces. And what I mean by that, it's like the fairy godmother in her exaltation wants to bestow wishes and blessings upon the Pisces sky, including borders and trade and refugees and fisheries and shores and mysticism and divine inspiration and compassion. But there is a big but. She keeps getting jammed up in the middle of an enclosure with 2 thugs on either side of her. Thug number 1 is the North Node Rahu, which exacerbates things and can be malefic, the head of the serpent. And then the other side of her is Saturn, also a malefic. And so even though Venus is there, there are windows of time from January 19th to February the 1st, and April the 1st to the 8th, and April 23rd to the 26th, where Venus cannot do very much to help. So even though Venus is in a good place and she's with Saturn and the North Node will be there, this is all extremely rare. It's extremely rare. It was in the 1877 timeframe that Saturn joined with the North Node together in the sign of Pisces like this. So we have some exquisite rarity. And yet, for the most part, that stellium that you mentioned hasn't happened 7 planets in Pisces at one time, including the North Node, more than twice in 2,000 years. I'd like to know where you got your research on that. That's fantastic. it will have some complications with Venus wedged between Saturn and the North Node. And I expect there will be a peak of energy around themes of migration, borders, border control, and possibly even some challenges with viral illnesses, because with Neptune in the mix there, we could see some wave of some virus hitting the world, and we'll all be talking about it. So it's not always a bed of roses, but where it's most difficult is when Venus is squished up between the malefics. So April 1st to 8th doesn't look too hot, right? But most of March looks pretty sweet. So I think probably some consensus amongst peoples around laws and regulations, Saturnian, to do with matters of governing borders in countries around the world and potentially restructuring borders on seafaring shorelines of various nations. Now, one thing about that, just heard today that there's this kerfuffle with Panama and Trump. Donald Trump and Panama are having Panama Canal are having a fight of some sort. I don't even know what it's about. The day we're recording is the 23rd of December or so, but this would include canals, right? Pisces energies, water that takes you from one side of water to the other through land. So there could be some really heated energy January 19th, or the inauguration, to the 26th of April around the thing that's going on in the canal, for example, something to do with taxes or things to do with any water body, waterway, includes the Suez Canal, etc.
Wow, this is so interesting because usually like I've seen like there be stelliums, but in astrology, because I know at different point in time there's like maybe 5 or 6 planets at most, but I've never seen 7 before. And this has only happened twice within the past 2,000 years. So it's going to be a larger amount of planets than usual that are in one sign. And it's all in Pisces, which is pretty interesting. So
Well, and when you say that, the other thing an astrology person will notice is that, well, it is all in Pisces. Who's in charge? And that's Jupiter, right? The ancient tradition, this is not the house of Neptune or the sign of Neptune. And in that case, it really belongs to Jupiter in Gemini. And Jupiter in Gemini is the boss of the situation, but he's in what we call detriment. So he's not really lording over this situation very well, where we see the stellium peaking in the last, day of March. That's when it's the most acute, March 29th, 30th. And then Jupiter is off in Gemini, not feeling well, and kind of under the weather and not paying attention to the details and squaring, which is a harsh angle, the stellium. So that's not ideal, right? That is not like I always said to all my clients and stuff, the first half of 2025 is a little bit of a nail biter and a little bit of white knuckling stuff. It's going to be intense, really intense. There's a lot of reasons. April 27th, Mars-Pluto opposition. January 3rd, Mars-Pluto opposition. But then it so smooths out that it's almost like, you're watching a dramatic movie, and up until about June the 9th, everything looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket in some ways, and including the economy. And all of a sudden, then there's these rolling like crescendos of, a choir-like aria, la la, da, 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 the hills are alive with the sound of music. That's June to the end of the year. So it's really a 2-part year to me. It's like they're so tonally different. It's crazy. It's like nuts.
that is reassuring because I wonder if this big buildup in Pisces is actually going to be beneficial or pivotal to Pisces or people who have Pisces stelliums as well.
Yes. Yeah. For the rest of you guys listening, yeah, for anyone who is a Pisces, it's going to be a huge amount of focus on yourself. Like if it's your sun, you're focused on, your career and purpose, your moon, where you live, your home, and how you're emotionally feeling about life. And if it's your rising sign in Pisces, then of course, everything about your life is under consideration. But it really does mean also any angular signs, which are Sagittarius, Gemini, or across the way, Virgo, are going to be feeling this in a difficult angle to their sun or moon or rising. And that leads them to also feel this energy very acutely. Like if you are like, a Virgo rising, for example, this is your 7th house of marriage. And you may as well just say your marriage partner is going through a lot, but your marriage itself may be going through a lot. Or your long-term committed partnership. So everyone who is in as you said, the mutables, they're going to really have an intense month of, it's really March where this cluster happens to be most intense, but where it's still a cluster the first week of April, and Venus is in the middle of that wedge between the thugs of the North Node and Saturn is also where it feels probably like grit, not like a celebration, but challenging. Yeah, it's a big weight for the Pisces people, and think about this, the Cancer people and the Scorpio, it's flowing to them. It's called a trine. And they're like, give me more. They don't care what's going on over there. It still feels good. They like, I'm kind of enjoying this over here, feels to me like a balmy ocean breeze. So they're happy. They're happy. Also not too bad with this intensity around March, the whole month of March, really, and difficulties with this intensity in April. Really not minding it are the Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and also the Capricorns. They're in a flowing sextile to this story, and they kind of go with the flow as well. So different signs feel different things with this, right? It's the mutables that are going to feel that something is being asked of them. Something is being compelled of them to do something about it, to take an action or figure it out. Like, for the Gemini rising people, for example, it's going to be their career house. And they're going to really go, oh my God, like what the hell am I doing up here? Good and bad. A lot of focus in the work and career and public reputation part of the sky. So.
Interesting. And speaking of the first half of the year, from now, we're recording December 23rd, so like right before New Year's. But from the start of the new year through April 12th, at least one of the personal planets, which are Mercury, Venus, or Mars, will be retrograde for really the first 4.5 months of the year, with the exception of 1 week at the end of February. So what does this heavy personal retrograde energy mean for the collective, as well as all the signs, which you could tell us all the signs when we get into, the little horoscope for each sign. But what does it really, this personal retrograde energy really dominates the first almost 5 months of the year.
Yeah. So the idea of anything that is retrograde saturated calendrical space, right, is that things that are not, you think you want to go forward on, you don't. You will go back and redo them, or that you have to go back and do things again that you thought you could go forward on before the retrograde. So it's kind of like being in a holding pattern or a stall, and you really won't get the full lay of the land until everybody gets into direct motion. But what's interesting is a lot of the retrogradation is going to keep focusing on only two signs in the sky, and that is, the Aries and the Pisces part of the heavens. And that's with Mercury's retrograde taking him through Aries and through Pisces, and then Venus as well in the same part of the heavens, indicating like there's a huge amount of intense coagulation in this part of the sky. It's sort of like one step forward, a step back. It's not a great time in this regard in the beginning of the year, March, April, May, for anyone who's got a lot of energy, like your sun or your moon or your rising, something important in the sign of Aries or Pisces, to make a major decision in life, because you are literally in the throes of the revise, revision, rethink energetic, right? For both Venus's vantage point, the goddess of love and money, and Mercury's vantage point, communication, ideas, and commerce. So it's not I'm an Aries, sun, moon, and rising, and I'm taking this to heart. Like I'm thinking to myself, okay, should I find a tropical beach in March? Don't sweat it. Do not try to make a bold declarative new momentum in my life, because it's all going to reverse itself, and then it's going to go forward, and I won't know what I want. One of the things, though, about that is we have a Venus star point, and that's going to happen on March 22nd. Venus will come into the heart of the sun in a way she hasn't done since March of 2017 and March of 2021. But it's more like March of 2017 when Venus is retrograding for 40 days and deeply, deeply magical and very close to Earth. And she's going into the heart of the sun as she did in the spring of 17. And so for a lot of people, it's going to bring them back to that story, wherever your Aries whole sign house is in your chart, right? It's going to bring them back to things that were going on in their life, most sound alike, most like March of 2017 at about a year. It takes Venus about 10 and a half months to fully flesh out the change she wants to bring you. It's a reset button in the Aries part of your sky. If you're Scorpio rising, the Aries part is your workhouse. So it is good to compare that, because you'll see a massive shift of direction when it comes to money and love and beauty and harmony and peace and goodness in the Aries part of your sky from March 22nd, unfolding like a red carpet rollout through until the spring of 2020. 26. And that's a big deal. That only happens every 4 years. That's one of the highlights of this year ahead. And it doesn't happen immediately. It can take her months to fully flesh it out, and show you what she's trying to bring you and show you what direction you're going to start something new, something different in the Aries sky: love, money, peace, kindness, friendship, harmony. Venus can rule celebrity, etc. For somebody who's an Aquarius rising, like me, this is my third house of social media. And I made huge changes in my social media life, both in 2017, add 10 months, and 2021, March. That's a lighter touch, add 10 months. So I'll probably see the same social media platform changes, et cetera, or the way I do things,
That's so interesting because you're an Aries, I'm a Pisces, Sun,
And Sag
Mercury,
rising.
and Venus. So and Sag, and there's a heavy Pisces energy. So it'll be interesting how it affects us. So
Absolutely. But it's almost like you can kind of go, February, March, April, all of those 3 months, we have a huge amount of Venus and Mercury domination of Pisces and Aries. So Pisces and Aries people needing to consider that it's almost if you can put your life in a timeout corner and say, I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to take it slow. Like what I know that nothing I think is going to go in a certain direction will actually go in that direction. So I may as well just kind of like let it ride a bit, let it ride.
And speaking of this, how things are flipping back and forth from Pisces and Aries for that part of the year, Venus retrograde is specifically from March 1st through April 12th. And it looks like it'll be retrograde Venus in Aries while the sun is in Pisces, then they flip-flop. Then it's the opposite. So in relation to this, what does that foretell? It seems like a lot of flip-flopping on anything personal.
Yeah, it does kind of go in that direction, but the sun itself just puts light like a spotlight or a flashlight on the story. You know what I mean? So when the sun is co-present in the same sign as the retrograding planet or whatever is going on in any sign, it's just that it's lighting it up and giving it kind of engine fuel for action. It's the sun is the divine intelligence that runs the whole universe. It's more than just, it's not our egoic self even. When you look at your sun sign, a lot of people will notice they seem more like their sun sign under the age of 7 and after the age of 60. And that's because your sun sign represents the core essential nature of you. God has a one light, it's white. It prisms into multiple colors, right? Hues and colors. There is 12 hues of God, and they're the 12 signs, and there's, air, earth, water, and fire, another flavor embedded within this prism of the divine. So your sun sign kind of represents the more core and essential divine spark of you. Whereas the character you play in the game of life, as if this is a simulation, your rising sign is the avatar. It's your meat suit, spacesuit character. It's how you look, it's how you act. But another good analogy for any of the entertainment focus out here, the actor is the sun and the character the actor plays is the rising sign. So when the sun energy in general moves into any part of the sky, we're getting that light of the divine mind or the intelligence of the universe moving along into that corridor, in Pisces season, in Aries season, right? Aries season, like March 19th, add a month, that kind of thing. More important to me than that, the question you actually asked is that, it's from March the 1st to March the 27th that the retrograding Venus is in the sign of Aries, right? So for you Aries folk, it is really that window, March 1 to 27, where the retrograde is do not make a major life decision. You'll have to turn it around anyway. Similarly, then March 27th to April the 12th, 13th, we have the Pisces retrograde of Venus. For all you Pisces, that's your like pause button, right? Do not make a decision, take an action, do not finalize anything.
Now, this year, I'm noticing there's also a shift with the eclipses for the next year or two.
That's what I'm excited about. And that's what I wouldn't mind talking about as well when we do a little mini all signs, because that is so freaking fabulous. I am jazzed.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it's good. That's a
It's so
possibility.
good. No,
Okay.
no, it's better than you can imagine. So
Good.
first of all, it's not that we're having eclipses north node in Pisces and south node in Virgo. That happens every 18 and a half years. So you go back and we all say 2006, 7, 8, that's the last time that energy played through the sky, midway through 2006, midway through 2008, compare your life. So that's kind of the best way to do it. North node in Pisces, south node in Virgo. It's because Jupiter will be exalted in Cancer, and we haven't seen that since 1765 and 8. No, what are those dates? I had them written down. This is why, and it's incredibly rare. And this combination is incredibly fortunate. That's what I'm wanting to say. But it was 1895 and 1765 that
Wow.
Jupiter moved through the sign of Cancer, exalted and super heroic and super powered up. Well, he flowed in a trine to the north node, moving through the sign of Pisces. And so he is in such good shape to govern or run or manage what Rahu, the north node, is doing. Rahu is worldly success, foreign energies, expansion growth, volume up, riches. It's kind of like in the Matrix, you want those things, right? Like Neo in the Matrix said, forget it, but Cypher went back for the steak and the wine, so, and the cigar. So this is what you want in life if you're playing the game of life. The North Node gives you those goodies, sometimes at the expense of your soul. But so as the North Node is moving through Pisces and we have this combination of Jupiter, the last time that happened, for example, in 1765, it was a very simple time. The main thing that happened in the United States is that Britain tried to tax the colonists with what's called the tax of the stamp tax. And what happened is it began the American Revolution, basically, to get the hell out from underneath the taxation of another country. But it's a deeper energy than that, because it not only did it start a revolution, it was people not wanting to be taxed, not just because they're like, I don't want to be taxed by you, England. It was because the taxes were to fund wars that they had no part in. Isn't that interesting? It was because England was taxing to fund wars that had to do with a war against France. And the colonists had no interest in paying money for a war that had nothing to do with them. In the United States of America next year, you're going to see that same sky play out, and you will see people wanting to rebel against paying money or putting money or congressional funding for wars around the world that the people don't care about. This won't begin until June the 9th. Until, of course, the next year, of course, until June 30th of 26, when we still have the North Node in the sign of Pisces, and you're going to see and Jupiter exalted in Cancer. And funny enough, Cancer is the house of taxes in the United States Sibley chart. So there's going to be major tax reform, but it's going to be a reform around the country and its people and its administration saying enough is enough. We don't want to pay for we've got Americans struggling who don't even have, basic needs for healthcare. And so many billions of dollars are funding wars that have nothing to do with protecting the country directly. So you're going to see that sort of shift towards isolationism, protectionism, and taxation being diverted from forever wars. Number two, this is the best part of it. This is what I'm excited about. Okay. And this is what I want to tell everyone about for themselves. But when we go back to the last time this happened in more modern times, in which you have more data to compare, which was 1895. All right. So in 1895, we had the same positive energy of alignments. And that was interesting. That was the Gold Standard Act, when the US government officially adopted a gold standard to hook its currency to, which had long-term positive implications for the economy. Now, when you think about it now, it's fiat currency. There is no gold standard in the United States. We're going to see a new kind of way of pegging the United States dollar. It was a petrodollar that fell apart last year, to a new kind of way to secure the stability of the American dollar, basically. The birth of the American film industry, the movie industry happened in 1895, with the first motion pictures being opened up in the film industry with the Thomas Edison studio. So think about all of our new tech, right? Yeah. AI, metaverse, AI goggles, whatever those things are. There's going to be a huge blooming of new directions, not just in the existing film industry, but in the concept of what entertainment vehicles and technologies are available to humanity beginning to blossom next year. And that's exciting to me. I'm like, what the hell could come out of that? Also, it was a time in the United States, and it was in the 1800s, it was a huge economic growth. The United States was having an industrial growth period. Now, the US economy is sort of stagnant like the rest of the world. So there can be a regrowth, a resurgence, June of this year to next year, 2025 to 26 of the economy,
That's
right?
really
Which is exciting. But there was also labor unrest in which the everyday working guy stood up and said, we want conditions that are good for us and wages that are fair. So I guess if it was to parallel, there'll be an increase in the minimum wage. There will be more concern for the American worker as the economy also does grow. And finally, electricity and technology went through a boom in that year. And there were new innovations and inventions. And then one of the biggest inventions was the streetcar in cities like San Francisco. So new forms of transportation technology are going to emerge. Probably the beginning of real, the first, automated cars in which the car is piloting, I suppose, but also maybe personal mini airplanes, right? Little, what is it called?
what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting little George Jetson-ish, right?
Yeah.
So it's good for technology, new inventions to do with technology, transportation, growth in the economy, better standards for the working guy, and the United States moving away from funding wars that the American people don't care about.
That's so interesting. So this series of eclipses then over the next year to two should be a lot better than the eclipses that we've seen over the past couple of years.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, oh, my God. Yes. I mean, the eclipses are in the sign of war, Aries, North Node in Aries, exacerbating the wars, but with Chiron, the wound of war. And so this is a lot like Chiron and Aries back in 1970, 1968 to 1977 and the Vietnam War. But this is different. Chiron is getting ready to leave Aries full time in 2027. He's finishing his I exacerbate the wound of war. The North Node got in there and made it worse in the summer of 23. And then we had the Gaza problem with Israel in the fall of 23. And the eclipse triggered that as well, the Libra eclipse on the ascendant of Israel. And the real point is that we came to a crescendo of pain around the amplification of war and suffering in the wounded war archetype with the eclipse of April the 8th. And that from April 8th, Chiron conjunct the eclipse. We're in the end of the wars. And with the North Node on January 11th moving out of Aries and the Chiron going direct on 29th of December, it's my prediction that in the first 6 months or so of 2025, the war in Ukraine will be resolved and the war in the Middle East will be resolved.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's got no fuel to run it. Like the engine tank is empty with the North Node out of Aries and Chiron moving direct as well. And so that is one of the good parts of the first half of the year. It's possible a lot of that back and forth energy that we're seeing with Mercury and Venus is about the negotiations to end these wars in the springtime, March, April.
Very interesting. So this should also be easier for people on a personal level as well, simultaneously.
Yes, on a personal level for sure. Now, amplification of Martian energy isn't always bad. Like I have 3 planets in Aries, and it really served my YouTube business, for example. It depends on how well equipped you are to handle this North Node eclipse cycle, making the Aries sky even more hot than usual. So everyone's natal chart shows how they use it differently. Obviously, the Aries were really running hot. Same with the Leos, Donald Trump rising, and the Sagittarius. They were feeling the heat distributed amongst the fire signs, but they actually didn't mind it. But poor Donald Trump almost got his ear clipped. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't want anyone to be harmed. I'm Canadian. I'm not choosing sides in the government. Do you see what I'm saying? But, the amplification of extremity in fire, the global climate heat, droughts, wildfires, people who are fire signs feeling really heated up about things, right? Or, Rahu is a malefic and it creates danger, so all the fire signs had more issues around inflammation, fevers, heat. Like I got COVID. Did I get COVID twice during that cycle? No, once, but but that's over. The temperature's coming down. It's like from the north node and like a hot flame. It went into the water and into the Pisces water. It goes psst, and it turns to steam.
Well, that's good to hear. That's so funny. Yeah, like I kind of hurt myself and I had some inflammation. And I'm a Sag rising, so I get heated. I've been heated about everything this year, but it's kind of been beneficial because it's gotten me to speak up. So,
Okay, yeah, that's right. Being hot and bothered, right?
yeah. And also I wanted to point out that around the same time Jupiter moves into Cancer, which seems like it'll be a relief period for a lot of us, and I kind of feel that way towards me, but we'll get to that later. Saturn will temporarily move into Aries from May 24th through September 1st, before eventually going into Aries long term starting February 13th, 2026. Now, Saturn's been in Pisces since March of 23, really testing us and making us work. So will this give the Pisces and mutable signs a brief break when Saturn goes into Aries for the summer?
Yes. Although people who are mutable, and in other words, they're experiencing Saturn as a square opposition or in the Pisces waters, can also reframe Pisces Saturn transit since 2023 because Saturn isn't always about just what is hard and difficult, although that is true. Hardship with water in the world, for example, has been a storyline, especially water shorelines like the Gaza Strip, but rather it is the taskmaster and the wisdom holder and the one that brings sagacity to our lives, as well as realism and structure. So it's like you need that in life. You need that energy to complement reality. Otherwise, we're pie in the sky and nothing gets done. So having that transit and coming to its completion in February of 26 is its own story and won't be back for 30 years. For sure, I think it will feel easier. But the real question as this ends and it begins to lighten up, as you mentioned, for 4 months this year, third week of May to September 1st, as you have a little bit of breathing room, it's best to look back over your shoulder and ask yourselves what were the cosmic teachings of Saturn? Because he's like Yoda. Like there's something good in Saturn, right? He's the old wise man on the mountaintop that you consult when you need to go to see the sage. You know what I mean? Like in the Himalayas. So I think that it's unfortunate we see Saturn always as the bad guy. That's what I'm saying. When Saturn is in the summertime window of very tight ingress, for that window of the summer, it is with Neptune, right? Neptune gets there first in March, and March 30th. And that's not just Saturn anymore. The two of them are basically in a Vulcan mind meld, right? So it's not pure Saturn energy. So that's a whole different vibe for the world and for each of us. So all of the Aries, for example, who are going to live through this, sun, moon, and rising, you've got Neptune, which is fantastical, imaginal, and mystical, and Saturn, which is realistic and concrete and form structure energy. And what you can do with that is huge. You can make your dreams real. You can manifest. You can imagine it and make it so. That's the highest level of that expression. And it doesn't have to be your first degree Aries sun. It's a saturating the whole Aries sky. And of course, collateral benefits flowing to Sag and Leo folk because it's flowing to them in a trine. And as much as no one may prefer Donald Trump, he's understanding this energy will be available for him this summer, should he not be assassinated, attempt successfully again, and he lives to see the day. The Leos, the Sages, and the Aries get this incredibly potent time in the summer to take something that they only imagine possible and make it real.
That's good to know. As a Sag rising, that's good to know.
I know, isn't it? And as an Aries sun, moon, and Mercury, but it's like my sun and moon are going, yay, we're going for it.
Wow, so that is good. And like as a Pisces with Saturn in my sign since March of 23, I've been hustling, but I've also been seeing a lot of career progress. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yeah,
like
yeah. So you're seeing some lessons, right?
yes, definitely. Oh, I've been learning lessons too. Some of it's a little bit somber because it's like a slap in the face, but it's like, okay, I got it type of situation.
Yeah, and that's your fourth house too, right? Which is kind of the midnight hour. And even though it's your home and private life, it's deep, deep energy where you're like digging into sort of the under roots of your life's purpose, really, the underbelly of what you wanted to create in this lifetime.
Yeah. Now, big question here. Um, Jupiter stays in Gemini for the first half of this year. And Jupiter's been in Gemini since May of 2024, and it stays in Gemini for the first half of this year. However, on June 9th, 2025, as you mentioned, it goes into Cancer where it will stay until June 30th, 2026. So
Mm-hmm.
over a year, Jupiter will be in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the horoscope for every sign. How will each sign be affected during the first half of 2025 versus the second half of 2025? Obviously, I know you're going to go a lot more in depth with each sign, how they'll be individually affected. So please give a horoscope for all the signs.
Okay. All right. So I will do that. So we'll go Aries and around the wheel, right? And I don't know, do your people want to see it or do you want me to just talk to you? I can show the chart and spin the wheel, or I could just tell you, like, this is mostly audio. Let me just talk. Okay. Let me just talk it out.
Yeah, feel
So
free to show the chart if you'd like, if it helps you. And
no,
yes.
no, no. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, like I have a super geeky community on YouTube. They're all learning astrology, but I don't think it's necessary because it's a pretty simple story. But before I do that, to say one thing about Jupiter in Gemini, he is in detriment. And that doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It just means he's not at his strongest. And when we compare that to the slide into Cancer, then we're talking about him in one of his most super heroic qualities. So tonally, the flavor feels for the world and for each of us like, you know that expression, good but not great, right? Things that Jupiter brought us were good but not great last year and into the first half of this year. And then we get to go great, great, great.
I need that.
Super great. Okay. So, okay, let's go through the signs. So you Aries, and you can listen for sun, moon, and rising, all are quite relevant. The energy of Jupiter moving through your third house is an expansion of some sort of your social media profile, of your writing projects, of your learning and teaching endeavors, and maybe some expansive travel opportunities that occurred as well. And Jupiter tends to, because he was here, May of 24 to June 9th of 25, he tends sometimes to bite off more than he can chew in Gemini. And you might have been overwhelmed by your own ambition or your own expansion, like a balloon that could pop if it blew up too quickly. So that's coming to an end. And after the 4th of February, he is in direct motion. And you might kind of harness that time. Everyone should harness that time, February 4th to June the 9th, because he's moving quickly and he's moving forward. And that's where you can make decisions and take actions regarding writing projects, communications projects, social media projects, changes of neighborhood, changing your, if you're teaching or learning something, maybe finding a new course you want to teach or learn. Those are all systems go. Then he's going to move into the part of the sky that's your home and your home base. And he's exalting that. It's super sweet if you want to buy a home, expand your home, add an addition to your home. Sometimes the additions are children or grandchildren. So the birth of children or grandchildren can show up during this June 9th and out of year transit. Ultimately, too, Jupiter down here is fertilizer for your 10th house. And so often it's things you're doing quietly home alone in the midnight hour, figuring out what you want to do to be prosperous, sometimes in your home and from your home. Great for entrepreneurs, but sometimes it's just like Jupiter's wisdom and knowledge and depth of knowingness and truth and spiritual, the high spiritual level of everything, guru. And so this is a once every 12-year transit that allows you to go into a deeper fertilization of the soil of one's career. So things that you're pondering at a deeper level. Lastly, it's one of the inheritance transits. Sometimes money from your family of origin, mom, dad, grandparents, anyone, can come through to you during this time and fertilize your finances from the family of origin stories. Okay, moving into the Taurus people. If you're a Taurus, you're going to find that Jupiter was trying to make you richer last year, May of 24 to June of 25, because he expands what he touches and he's in your earnings, money, savings, possessions, second house. There has been an increase of your wealth and will continue to be so through till June 9th. Again, biting off more you can chew. He's in detriment or even good but not great. So you may have found you got a new job or increased your salary, or you were able to buy a new car or possess a new home even, but something about it wasn't as good as you thought it should be or could be. And so there's a sense of, and maybe some overwhelm of expanding financially more quickly than you thought you should, or spending more than you wanted to through generosity. When Jupiter's here, he gives money to people. He gives things away. He's philanthropic and he's noble. So you might have had to spend money on other people, and that also could have been challenging. Use February 4th to June 9th to make excellent actions and decisions to do with prosperity, especially when it comes to work, job, and career matters, and making changes if you want, changing your job, applying for a new job, starting a new direction in work. Those will be all very blessed. He's fast moving in those window of time. And then on June the 9th, he moves into your third house. Every 12 years he will go here. And this is a story that has, and going back 12 years puts us into 2013, 14. This is where he's going to open up your expansion of exaltation of social media. It's media, it's newspapers, magazines, it's news, but it's modern day, it's all of our platforms, the ones we know about and the ones that have yet to be born. So if you're in social media and yet something you do for your work or your livelihood is going to expand and be more successful, it's a great time to launch a website, start a new channel. It's a great time to do writing projects. He will expand your success in anything to do with writing and communicating. You could have an expansion of a connection to your youngest sibling, one younger than you, or an expansion and lucky connection to the neighbors and neighborhood, where all of a sudden everything in the neighborhood suits you perfectly, or you move to a more bounteous, prosperous neighborhood, and to a new, I'm born in the 60s, moving on up to the big time, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. You could literally, that's called the, I can't remember the name of this series anyway, from the 60s or 70s, but you're kind of moving on up into a bigger, more wealthy, more affluent neighborhood, if that's something you're concerned with or want to do. And if you want to learn something, Jupiter will pronounce your learning will be exalted. So taking courses and learning and studying. And if you're a teacher, your teachings will be exalted and during that window of time. And it's just lucky for your younger sibling, one younger than you. They have a period of great luck in their 1 year story of that transit. And I'm not going to really go into much more than that for each sign because we're doing the two things, but reminding everybody that this is very rare because of the North Node amplifying it all in a way that we haven't seen since the 1800s. So there's a huge expansion that intensifies in your life to do with what I would call greater career gains. So your career gains will increase as well.
And then just real quick to note, this is going to be Jupiter going to Taurus's third house, because I think by accident you might have said 12.
Oh, did I say 12? Third house. Yes, through your third house. If I said 12, so welcome to menopause. Yeah, third house. But you will have, the North Node going through your 11th house, and that's career gains expanding, social networks expanding as well. But, we're going to keep as simple as we can to get through each sign and before my next client, because I have time with Will separately. Now, if you happen to be a Gemini, then the first part of the year, first half, is the extension of that travel of Jupiter through the sign of Gemini from May of last year, 24. Energetically, this is you trying to be Santa Claus, you trying to be King of Mount Olympus, you trying to own up to a faith, hope, and optimism that is beyond the mortal coil. So you became bigger than life. And some people got actually very big, gained weight, put on muscle, or got pregnant. You expand your physical form as well. Well, it's especially for the Gemini rising. Ultimately, the guru is in the house of your sun, moon, or rising. So you have been looking for deeper spiritual truth and wisdom. And that has been a blessing, hopefully, and continues to be till June the 9th. I like especially February the 4th and to June 9th. That's where fast moving Jupiter is all systems go into direct motion. And then you can really tackle career projects, relationship endeavors, or home matters, for example, with great authority, being Queen of Mount Olympus authority. Of course, when Jupiter goes through here, new relationships can be formed as well. That's true last year and this year, or existing relationships can expand. So Jupiter will focus on the long-term love stories, but more so when he goes direct, right? That's when, boom, he's looking at the marriage house saying, should we expand this? Do we want to move in together? Do we want to get engaged? That kind of thing. And if the relationship you're in doesn't work for you, then Jupiter's just as happy to get rid of it. So there's some pivotal changes in relationship, one way or the other, February 4th to June the 9th. On June the 9th, we get the exaltation. And that's so beautiful of Jupiter in his super powerful, high and mighty exaltation of your finances. You can get very wealthy in that time frame, the last half of the year into the first half of 26. And its exaltation energy is very entitled. So it's like because the second house is about your self-worth as well as your net worth. So there's an intensity here around your values, defining them, having your values be true and wise, and your self-worth to be more embedded in a deeper spiritual layer of you, because the prosperity that you make here isn't a quick, rich, get a buck now thingy. It's about embedding spiritual truth into the way the money flows to you in life and the resources and the possessions that you need. So it's a profoundly beautiful energy. And of course, we have the North Node expanding your 10th house of career. So a lot of this Pisces 10th house exaltation of the second house really gives a super glow up to your career and financial matters during this entire second half of the year into the first half of next year. And again, it's once in a lifetime. So I would say go big or go home in money, career matters. If you're a Gemini, this is going to be superpowers. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. First of all, you guys have this energy Jupiter doing soul work last year, May of 24 through to June 9th of 25. Some of you got a guru. Some of you went to an ashram. Some of you is 12th house. Some of you may have gotten involved in some kind of new learning curve, study or research or learning something new when he's in the 12th house. Trying to be more meditative, spiritual, connected to your soul, looking at your past lives. That's all Jupiter in the 12th house. A very few of you might have been, if you work for an international company or you do borderless income from like digital income from online revenue across all borders, then you may have been prospering here. This could have increased your financial revenue from those sources as well. Good, but not great. Right. Maybe he bit off more than he could chew. Maybe you joined the ashram and you said you go or you joined the spiritual Sangha community. You're going to go every weekend and you promised yourself, but that was way too ambitious. So spiritual ambition could have fallen short. Then Jupiter moves into Cancer, which is your sign on June the 9th, add 12 months, more or less. Okay. So this is a good vibe, right? Because now you are lucky, you are expansive, you are prosperous, you are filled with wisdom, truth, and hope. You become very Jupiter. People are drawn to you. You're magnanimous and you're magnetic. However, you can put weight on physically. You could get muscular, which is a better option, or you could get pregnant. If this is for the females, okay? The ones with the eggs, the egg bearers, you could get pregnant under this transit. If you don't want to be pregnant and growing your body into a big belly, then you be careful because it's a super fertility transit for women who are Cancer rising specifically. And Jupiter here wants to bless you to expand ninth house matters where the North Node is traveling in that rare, rare way. And so your ninth house could take a few of you back to school, off to university or college, or if you're young enough and listening, then getting accepted at your most cherished dream school for higher education. If you're a book publishing industry author type, this is expansion of your exalted success in book publishing. Also podcasting, and also spiritual truth and wisdom. So there's a deep layer here of really going into a new level of spiritual philosophy that works for you. And lastly, you might also, if you're challenged with any legal court cases, they will be extremely successful. And if you want to travel the far off foreign lands and distant shores, 2 thumbs up, you are going to do very well with that. And it will be something that really serves you in a way that you couldn't even imagine, because it's something to do with wisdom and truth and luck and lands and foreign shores and travel. All right, so we're moving to Leo. Back in the day, May of 2024 through to June of 25, you had that Jupiter transit through your 11th house of good spirit. Now, this is a windfall position for Jupiter. This is where people born with Jupiter here in the house of his joy win lotteries. If you have natal Jupiter in your 11th, especially with Uranus there, for example, those people win money. So there's something about sort of windfalls, pennies from heaven, more financial gains from your career, more success in your career. The greater gains of career may have been emerging for you during that time frame. The people of the 11th were beneficial, your sibling one older, for your life and your prosperity. Or just some people in your larger groups of friends were really helpful towards you and really supportive of you in that transit. Good enough, but not great, though, of course. So it was Some of it was fantastic, maybe promises, like you were supposed to get, you thought you were going to get that raise that would equal XYZ, but it was less than you thought when taxes were deducted or something like that. So great career gain money was a part of it. Jupiter goes direct February 4th to June 9th, and that's ideal for making major gains in your career. It's a great time to ask for the raise or promotion. It's a great time to apply for the new job. It's a great time to ask a friend for a favor and get the answer is yes, that a meaningful favor. It's good for social influence as well, especially if you're in the online world. A nice glow up February 4th through to June 9th. Then we move June 9th through to late June of 2026. And that's the exaltation energy that really amplifies your spiritual quest. The 12th house doesn't care about the mortal world of ambition and fame and fortune. It cares about spiritual awakening and liberation. And Jupiter here doubles down on that in exaltation. If you've never had a spiritual guide or guru, or you never followed a spiritual path or teaching, then this is probably going to try to change that. Now, there is money to be had here if you have borderless income, digital revenue, or work for a foreign company that's situated in a country other than the one you're born in, or the one you even live in. So there's an expansion of money and growth there, which is wonderful. Sometimes Jupiter initiates learning and wants us to study and learn something new when he's here, and that can be extremely lucrative for you. Because your North Node transit also activates the 8th house of chunky money and occult mystery. You might be deeply diving into occult mystery studies like tarot astrology, or you might be receiving more money than you normally do through really auspicious directions like tax rebates or inheritances, or your partner in love and business partners are very prosperous and you benefit from shared resources. And stock investments can take off as well. But be careful with the stock investments because Saturn's still in Pisces. So this is, blue chip stocks. This is be cautious, but you could have stock prosperities stories as well. Mid-June of this year till next year, June to June. Anything else I'd say about that? Well, the North Node in the 8th house is a very spiritual house too. It's a liberation from the dream. So between the 8th house North Node and some of you Leos, even if you're not looking for enlightenment, it could land your way. Okay, enlightenment could head your way unbeknownst to you. Some spiritual awakening. All right, so the Virgo people, you guys have this transit moving through Jupiter or Gemini part of the sky, part 1 of the year until June. And this is going to be the continuation of career success, expansion, and luck, basically finding your reputation glowing as well. And sometimes this is Jupiter in the house of marriage and weddings or public acknowledgement that you're getting married. So you might have gotten engaged or might be celebrating a new level of attainment in a relationship and announcing it to the world. And that's behind you now, but will be behind you June the 9th. But it's a really good time, February 4th through to June 9th, to apply for your dream job, get a raise, ask for a promotion, or just find yourself super successful in the work and career setting. June the 9th onward till June of 26, you get Jupiter exalting your 11th house, which is the gains of the career itself. So this is where you're going to ramp up your finances and your earnings and your promotions and your successes and your recognition in the work that you do in this world. Things are going to have a Midas touch for you. And you may even find that you have incredible support and really great gains from the support of a sibling older than you, just one older, and even also larger celebrity, if that's something that matters to your career path, if you're looking for an expansion of how you influence and are received by large groups of people, then that can be extremely fortunate as well. This is the one of the win money transits. So it's a good time to play the lottery, but know your limit, play within it, and all that good lingo. But it does amplify lucky money breaks and windfalls, etc., from any which source that they could come from. And the North Node is amplifying the marriage house also, where it's a rare confluence of events. And for a lot of you, it does look like you will be married, getting engaged, moving in, making a relationship more committed in some way. And if you're not in a relationship, then this can give you a beautiful destined soulmate new relationship, especially if you'll find that friend in a group setting, like, hanging out with your friends, going to an event, or being introduced by a friend or an elder sibling. That new relationship for single Virgos is going to be bar none, mind-bendingly positive and lead to a great longer-term commitment in your life. All right, so Libra, sun, moon, and rising. The story here tells me that you want to look at how Jupiter is, for the first half of this year, going to continue the work you started last year in expanding your ninth house. Now, that's book publishing. That's long distance travel and pilgrimages. That's things to do with your legal and court affairs where judges are involved. Jupiter's been pretty busy up there since last year. It's not a good time to take it to court until he's direct. He will be direct February 4th to June the 9th. Similarly, if you could delay a publication date, or if you're going to send your manuscript to the agent or the publishing house, wait until the direct motion, February 4th to June the 9th. It's really a good alignment with purpose transit. And I think a lot of Libras, if you talk to them, they're going to say, yes, I kind of felt like, June of 24 to June 25, I really got back on track. I really got my true north alignment with purpose going in my life. And some of you might have had a new therapist, teachers or guides or spiritual mentors entering the picture as well. Now, second half of the story is going to be June to June, June of 24 to 25, 25 to 26. That's all about your energy of exaltation of career, reputation, and social standing. And so, of course, it's everything from, look at me, I got accepted to the country club that I wanted, social standing, to, Biffy and Buffy in the tennis courts, all the way up to, look at my career. It's on steroids. I've got the Midas touch. I'm wow, I'm on the top of my game. And if that's true, there's nothing you can even say about it, but ride the wave of this celebration of your success in your career. And if you're retired, it's your success in whatever you do in life. If you're a student, it's your grades, right? This is where you're succeeding, because your 10th house is what people see you succeeding at. If you're retired, you're succeeding at your golf score, I suppose. The North Node is just beautifully amplifying the work house, right? Work and career house both are getting beautiful synergy. So it looks like a stellar work career essence and even financial gain from that. And so just ride the wave of that year of career success, unlike any you've seen in this life. It's quite sweet, quite sweet. And then Scorpio, Jupiter, June of 24 to June of 25, going through the sign of Gemini, really all about that 8th house of money that you don't earn directly. So, government monies, taxes, insurance payouts, money from your spouse that you share with them or your long-term committed partnerships, money from inheritances. A lot of Scorpios will have come into or still will come into an inheritance of some sort between, this transit finishing up in June on the 9th. And so there's that bounty that comes from unearned income and other people's resources. It could be a stock taking off as well in your stock investments. Now, energetically, this leaves, but I don't mind. Of course, I'm saying for every sign, February 4th to June the 9th, he's direct. So it's a great time to invest in that stock and know that it could take off. It's a good time to see the chunks of money coming your way directly. The retrograde is probably not going to show you that. So you need that last gasp of yay, February 4th to June the 9th. And then we move in. And if you want to get a mortgage or refinance a mortgage or refinance a debt or pay off a loan, February 4th to June the 9th. Now, second wave of the year, June 9th to June of 26, is about exaltation of the 9th house. So a lot of people travel to foreign countries under this influence, and the travel brings luck and blessings to them. So if you're thinking of a long distance travel journey and you haven't set a date, then wait till after we get to June 9th onward, so this beautiful flow is offered to you. And if you want to go on a pilgrimage and off to the El Camino, that's a beautiful transit for something like that. If you're in the book publishing industry, things begin to really take off for you in the authorship publishing industries or podcasting. Things also connected to court matters and legal affairs going all swell for you. And the judges say, yes, we got your back. And the lawyers are smart. And anything to do with higher education. Some of you might really feel like it's time to go to school for the first time and apply to college. Or if you do want to go back to school, it's an ideal transit for that as well. And lastly, it's alignment with purpose. And so you are now going to align more deeply with your purpose during this exalted transit. And it's a fertility transit for the birth of children and grandchildren. So because of the North Node amplifying the house of fertility, children and grandchildren are one of the ways that some Scorpios may encounter this Jupiter Cancer exaltation transit. All right, so Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising folk, it is a story that starts off with the Jupiter in Gemini, and Jupiter in Gemini is in your seventh house. That's your career, that's your long-term partners in business and love. But if you're in the online world or something, that's your fan base, that's your audience, that's your marketplace. So expansion, right? Growth of that. And maybe even an experience with Jupiter in detriment of some good but not great results. And the retrograde complicating it as well. It would have meant for a lot of Sagittarius in long-term committed love stories, a kind of renegotiation of the marriage terms and maybe a decision to not be in that relationship. Jupiter is the Lord of blessed endings, and it kept crossing through here back and forth. So still until, really all the way through until June the 4th, there's a frailty in existing long-term love commitments because Jupiter will only keep you only the best, the good housekeeping seal of approval. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. So you're still under that energy. Jupiter then moves on the 9th of June into your 8th house of unearned income and chunky money, exalting you and giving you the potential for, yes, inheritances, great gains from selling a home, positive lucky stock investments, money coming from your partner and their money, and you're advancing your wealth together in business and love partnerships. And of course, if you want to study the occult mysteries and arts, this is where Jupiter is really keen for you to learn the tarot, the astrology, the gene keys, whatever occult mystery that is your cup of tea. And you get lucky breaks and good teachers in occult mystery art studies. And finally, Jupiter in the 8th house can increase your the esteem of other people, because the 8th house is the esteem of others. And so people looking to you with greater respect in life, or, you feeling like people respect you more than they normally do, is a consequence of that transit. And if you have any kind of separation of spousal assets, you're going to come out on top. Sometimes, Jupiter gets you divorced in the 7th house and then tries to save your ass in separation of assets as he goes through the 8th house. So that's another aspect of that.
That's interesting you say that, because I can't elaborate too
Go
much.
ahead.
But say, for example, if someone works for a company and they're rolling out another company and the assets might be split, so they would basically survive a layoff with this transit.
Well, yes, so you're going to get money that comes from means that aren't the normal ways of getting money. So there's always a benefit there. Yes. Jupiter here can even be things like an unexpectedly large tax rebate, or the insurance payout is extraordinarily positive, or severance packages when you quit a job being really generous.
And say, for example, if it makes you more esteemable, it could probably simultaneously help you in your career.
Yes, your general sense of being respected or esteemed by others will be on the increase. Yeah. Yep. And so what sign we're doing? Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising folk. Go back in June of 24 to June of 25, Jupiter moving through the work and health house is your 6th house, and pets. So some of you got more pets, bigger pets had babies. Some of you might have found out that your, health was a challenge, but Jupiter saved the day and found solutions, or brought a health matter to your attention for resolution. But Jupiter here could also increase your work and work success, especially in colleague, coworker, employee situations. A little known meaning of Jupiter here is luck with rental properties, whether you are the tenant or the landlord. There's luck in the idea of rental property that was hopefully some of you got some of that going for you. Jupiter here may have increased your some of your challenges with debts. Okay, so sometimes he expands the debt. You might have had to take a bigger loan out on something than you wanted to. That's just a side effect of Jupiter here. But again, he's trying to do something good. So you have to say, well, the debt was for a greater purpose, because I could buy the bigger house or something. Now, Jupiter will leave your 6th house of all of those things, including pets. And I always laugh at this because Jupiter, there are usually people who get big animals. Like I got a Great Dane, not a poodle, a tiny miniature poodle. So the pet story is done. And now we move into Jupiter, June the 9th through to June 30th of 26. This is your marriage house. If you're a single Capricorn, in comes a partner of great beauty, wealth, positive energy. For women in particular who are Cap rising, this is bringing in your ideal partner. But on the other hand, Jupiter here is a good housekeeping seal of approval, and in a pre-existing strained relationship, then this can be a testing time, and it lasts a year. Will you make the cut? Will this relationship survive? Your long-term partner in love will experience luck in their life. They get collateral benefits. So they get more luck, more expansion, more growth, just as a general theme. And this is a house also that connects to your public, your marketplace, and your audience. Should you have that kind of a career where you have to meet and greet the public or clients, or you have a marketplace for something you produce, a merchandise or something you create, this is going to expand that and give it luck and blessings. And you bring positive, prosperous, and teacherly people into your life that have important roles to play in your life during this transit. And there is this beautiful flow to the North Node that just amplifies a lot of the energy here. The North Node is in Pisces during this time. That some of these encounters with other people may involve travel, meeting like teachers or gurus in other lands, or travel spots that are destined. And if you're in the social media sphere, then you're a beast, right? All you Capricorns, you're doing so well. North Node brings worldly success to your social media third house, and your audience marketplace expands. And so this is really good for Capricorns in the sphere of the online world. And you should see a great deal of expansion of your success in mid 25 to 26. All right, Aquarians, this is a story that puts you in touch with the end point, the last half of Jupiter in Gemini. This is a fertility transit. This is pregnancy or grand pregnancy. Like you're going to be a grandparent or you become a parent during this transit. It's also a lottery win transit. So you can go back to June of 24 to June 9th of 25, and these things are playing out. With this energy, it's for the creative artists here. Your art and your projects creatively want it to expand, to grow, and to prosper. Although sometimes Jupiter bites off more than he can chew. And you might have had like 5 paintings going at once, or 7, or books trying to be written at once. And that could have been a challenge. If you're an entrepreneur, this is your entrepreneurial 5th house. And so this is an expansion of your terrain of success in entrepreneurial endeavors. Again, at what cost? Jupiter's in detriment here. This is a really good transit. And if you have not done an entrepreneurial business, incorporating with Jupiter in Gemini will be very auspicious for your business inception chart. So, but wait for his direct motion, February 4th to June the 9th. Also, news of being, pregnant or grandparenting coming, most likely in direct motion, June the 9th to February June the 4th to June the 9th, February 4th to June the 9th. February 4th to June the 9th, you could win money. So he's moving very quickly. He's in a high speed, fast motion. So that's a great time for purchasing simple lottery tickets without overdoing it. Of course, do not gamble your life savings on an astrology reading. That's dumb. You know what I mean? Jupiter, like this is entertainment purposes only. Jupiter enters into your 6th house of health and work. Well, obviously he's going to do what he needs to do to exalt your health, make you healthier, find better health teachers and learnings. But also if you have a health challenge, find the solution and everything works out okay. So that's wonderful. Your work life becomes larger. And this is a house of employees. So if you're an entrepreneur, you might hire more people. But if you're an employee, you're going to find the boss loves you, or that you're expanding your success in the environment of the work that you're doing and the people you work with. And you might find more enjoyment in the work. Just having more enjoyment and joy in the work you do. If you don't have a pet, you'll get one. If you have pets, you'll get more expansion of domestic animals in your life. And bigger the better, says Jupiter. So don't go for the tiny little one. No chihuahuas allowed, unless it's a brood of chihuahuas. Jupiter here is really good for amplifying the energy of a deeper layer service. Jupiter is guru and he is the wisdom holder. And the sixth house is we're working to be of service to the greater good. So you're going to kind of lean a little more into is my work being of service? Do I feel I'm being of service? Jupiter will help you align with that value during this transit. With the flow to the North Node, of course, it's your North Node Rahu through your house of earnings. It's going to increase your financial success through the work you do in the world. So your work and service equals money and in larger expansion of your earnings and money story through work. Okay, through work and through being of service, and prosperity will follow. And that's what I've got for you. And I should mention one more thing. And changing your diet, because Jupiter wants your health, and the Rahu is making drastic changes to the foods you eat. So you may have a big dietary shift, like realize you can't eat a certain substance and no longer ingest it, including addictions as well. Right. And then we're finally on Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So Pisces, this is going to look like Jupiter's finishing up 6 months in the first half of the year, a transit through the fourth house. Luck, expansion and growth regarding home, property, land, and real estate, including inheritances. And it may be your inheritance or your spouse's inheritance. It doesn't have to be just yours. So you might have come into money during this transit last year, third week of May last year, and it doesn't complete until June the 9th of this year. It's a good time to buy a new home. It's a good time to expand your home with addition. It's a good time to be prosperous and bounteous from things you're doing in the home. And then we move February 4th to June the 9th when he gets into that direct motion. If you're thinking of buying a home or selling a home, then go for it then. That's when Jupiter's direct and things will go very, very easily and super well for you. And it's especially extra special because we don't have any debility of the South Node in your 8th house of mortgages. And so buying and selling property looks really good on you February 4th to June 9th. Then when we move forward, Jupiter exalts your 5th house. So pregnancy and grand pregnancy, either you could get pregnant, your partner could get pregnant, you could be becoming a grandparent. That's a normal story for that. You could win money and lottery monies in the whole year of his exaltation in your 5th house of good fortune and winning money. Speculations, casinos, gaming, gambling, winning. Now, all said and done, with moderation, of course. So Jupiter in your 5th house, June 9th to next June of 26 is all systems go for money luck, basically. And your entrepreneurial business can be created under this and thrive, or your existing business can grow under this, and your artistic projects and creations will be very lucky and expansive and prosperous as well. And with the North Node expanding your identity and you are becoming more worldly successful, it's also more to understand. Jupiter is going to ask you what brings you inspiration, enthusiasm, and joy. And ask that question and say, how do I then expand myself in alignment with those values? Because Jupiter is not just enjoyment, but true deep joy. And he's in the house of beautiful energies connected to awe, wonder, and joy. The 5th house is like if you're a tarot reader, it's like the 19th card of the Arcana, the Sun card. It's innocence, wonder, and joy. And so a lot of your innocence wants to come back to you. Your wonder wants to come back to you. And you expand your identity at the expense of your marriage partners, by the way. You Pisces are going to focus a lot less on your audience, your marketplace, and your marriage type partnerships and business partnerships, because you're taking it all home to you. North Node Rahu, house of you, flows to Jupiter, blessed expansion of identity, self, realization of what you want for your life and what you want to attain. And yet at the same time, right, it's all under the auspices of the good house of good fortune with an exalted Jupiter, first in a lifetime. So it's such a beautiful personal glow up for you is what I'd say. Okay, we did it. I managed to whip through that. Oh my God, we're going to roll. You cannot do all signs any faster than I just did them. I sound like an auctioneer.
You did a great job. You did very comprehensive. And I think it's everyone has like some good luck this year.
The world has good luck. We can't get away from such a beautiful flow between Jupiter and the North Node. It's the best part of next year.
Yes. Well, that was wonderful. So Lori and I are going to move into our own private conversation, which some parts may or may not air, but in terms of everyone else and the audience, that that's a wrap to a great 2025 forecast. I would love if you could come back in the summer when things start to shift into Cancer. Maybe we could discuss some other astrological happenings that are going on
Yeah.
as the year progresses.
Yeah, that would be really fun to do. So, let's you and I spend the next like 10 minutes or so going over some highlights for your charts. Sound like a good idea?
Yes. So
Yeah.
thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. And everyone make sure to subscribe, rate, and check out Lori's YouTube channel, Lunatic Astrology, and all her forecasts because she has great forecasts for everything that's happening on a weekly basis, monthly basis, transit basis, etc.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you guys.